So in this video we're going to show you two types of repairs, one on this perforated leather and then one on the pigmented leather. Both are holes within the actual leather itself. I mean, this is actually on a training course, so we are going through showing people how to do these repairs. So the first part of the repair is once you've obviously cleaned out the hole, you then have to remove any backing foam that's on the back to stop the backing fabric going in there. So you need to remove all the foam so that the backing fabric can bond properly to the leather itself. So this has to be done by snipping this out. Once that's done, you can then obviously feed in that backing fabric. The pin in the center is to stop the fabric from disappearing inside of the seat. So get that fed right in. You don't want that to buckle up or anything like that, because you will feel that. So this is the perforated section, and we're here removing the foam from the back of the perforated leather so that we're ready to get the actual backing fabric placed in position. So you have to make sure all the foam is out, that's bonded to the or glued to the back of the perforated leather section. Then you'd get your backing fabric, place the pin in the middle, and then carefully use the metal spatula to insert the fabric, ensuring that that fabric is flat at all times. This is the exact same process that you would carry out to repair a tear. You would ensure that the pin is in the middle, the backing fabric would going in, keeping it nice and flat to ensure there are no lumps on the surface of the leather, because if you do feel those lumps, it's going to look horrible when repaired. Just keep pushing that in with the spatula to make sure it is completely flat. Once that's done, obviously you can then start applying the base grain copier into the actual hole itself, pushing that into all the areas that you can get it into, pushing it into the sides to make sure it goes in and just slightly under, to ensure that obviously it grabs all that backing fabric that's in there to give a really good true bond to the repair so it doesn't fall out. I mean, this product is a silicone based product. It cures, extremely flexible, just like the leather, so you're not going to have any problems. That's actually the grain copier that's going on now over the surface. That actually wants to overlap the original leather, and then once that's gone on, you'd then be able to obviously heat press the actual grain into the leather again to make that repair blend off and be as perfect as possible and as near invisible as possible as well. So that is the key to obviously what we're doing. That's obviously the grain pad that's going on there. That is the Teflon paper. Obviously you need that on there because if you just put the heat iron straight onto the grain pad, again with it being a silicone mould that we manufacture in-house, you would melt the mould. So ensure that the Teflon paper is over the surface and keep heating. Do not remove the pad until you are confident that the repair is cured properly. You can lift one corner, ensuring that it drops back down in the same position again. There is no real set time for that to sort of cure. It depends on ambient conditions of the leather, temperatures, etc. That's the perforated leather now having the base grain copier put into it. So just keep moving that over the surface. You don't want to keep it in one area because it will get too hot if you keep it in one area. So this is the base grain being put into the perforated area here. Obviously once that's gone in, we'd then be able to obviously put the grain copier on once it's cured, and obviously heat press the grain into it, and then we can obviously resolve all the holes that's in there. You need to try to get this as flat as you possibly can. You don't want it to be pronounced because it's going to look horrible. It'll look like a big boil on the surface if you have it too high and too pronounced. You want to make sure that it's completely level with the leather surface itself to ensure that this is all going to blend in nicely. So as you can see, that's now being cured. The Teflon paper is going over. With the base grain, you don't need to put a grain mat down, you're just curing the base grain. So that's now all cured and the heat grain has been done and the grain copier has been applied. We're now marking out the holes. So we're making sure that all the lines line up perfectly so that when we heat them through or drill them through, as we're going to in this particular case, you can either heat them with a needle, heat the needle up with a flame and then just push that through the hole, or you can drill little holes through. Sometimes you can get like little bits of imperfections when you're heating or drilling. If you do, you have to then go back and retouch up those particular areas with more grain copier. So this is obviously done with a pencil so that you can easily remove that from the surface with either a tiny bit of alcohol cleaner or LRC1 leather cleaner. Either one of them will enable you to remove the pencil lines from the surface prior to actually doing any painting. So that's the hole there done, showing you all the lines marked up perfectly, ready to be doing all the drilling to ensure that we can get them done. And that's a closer up version there to show you. So that just shows you what it's like now with them all lined up perfectly so that we can begin to start drilling the holes. This is the second hole on the other side of the seat, above where we were just doing the pigmented flat surface leather repair. This is on the left hand side of the seat as we're looking at. So that's getting the base grain copier going in there, ready to heat cure the base grain to fill the hole. So that's obviously the drilling beginning on the right hand side of the seat, on the right section. This is the right upper section of the seat where we're repairing this hole, showing people how to do this by drilling into the surface to get your perforated leather holes back in position perfectly by following the pencil lines. Obviously, where you've gone over from left to right with the pencil lines, you'll get a pinpoint cross, which is where you need to drill to ensure that they line up perfectly. The whole idea of this is to get a repair that's as near invisible as possible for your client. So this is the perforated flat leather section where we're just now sanding this down, where it's had the repair carried out, and that particular section is where the drilling is still taking place on the other side of the seat. So you need to sand that down lightly before that you can obviously apply any colourant, and obviously you need to get all the holes drilled, lightly sand, blow any air, blow away any dust that's created and fallen back into the holes with an airline. And then obviously once you've got all the drilling done and that's been blown away, you would be able to actually then start to apply the paint to the surface of the perforated leather to ensure that this is all blending in. If you do get, like you can see one in there in the centre where it's slightly bigger than normal, with that like that, what you can then do is apply some more grain copier over the top of the paint, which makes our product very unique compared to our competitors. It enables you to go over the top of the paint again so that you can blend those repairs in perfectly where there's some slight imperfections in the drilling or the burning of the holes back into the perforated leather. That's the second perforated leather hole there being repaired. As you can see, it's got a slight dip in the middle, which will just require a little bit more base grain copier to go in there to enable the repair to blend off nicely. As you can see there, it's been drilled, and you can see a slight hole there where it's slightly bigger. We'll then obviously go over with the grain copier once the paint has been applied and refix that to ensure that hole is slightly smaller. But you're applying the paint now, and as you can see, that is blending away perfectly and disappearing into the rest of the seat, so it's hardly noticeable that there has been a repair carried out. So they blend away nicely, as you can clearly see. Considering it was a huge hole, it's a fantastic repair, which is far better than a hole. And as you can see there, the finished item looks absolutely staggering, and that is the perforated leather section, all completed and done.